Hello, everyone. I am Neo, and this is my senior capstone proposal presentation, Designing Player Experience Through Sound and Music. So I am a four-year student at UH West Oahu. I graduated from James Campbell High School in Eva Beach in class of 2021, and I'm majoring in creative media with a concentration in video game design and development with a certificate in music. Brief executive summary. I'll be stating my thesis statement and objective for the research conducted, then my plans for the capstone, and then addressing the significance of the project with research, and finally the deliverable. My thesis statement is sound and music are fundamental to the video game experience, significantly shaping player cognition, physiological response, and emotional engagement through the three dimensions of immersion: sensory, challenge-based, and imaginative. So my objective, the understanding I gained from this research helps me create intent or helps me make more intentional, creative decisions for my capstone project and ensures that the audio that I will design will directly support immersion, gameplay clarity, and storytelling for an enhanced video game experience for the player. And since I don't really have any professional experience, I also want to challenge myself by being in the shoes of an indie game developer and professional sound designer in the video game industry. And here are my senior capstone plans. I'll be making a game project. It's going to be a 2.5D rhythm shooter game that will be demo length. Typically, it contains one main level, a tutorial level, and a main menu. But I also want to include a level select screen and a cutscene. The core mechanics of the game will rely solely on sound, so any aspect of transdiegetic sounds, such as ambience, dialogue, music, and general sound effects, which is like UI, for example, UI sound effects, will be used in the project and produced entirely by me. And the sound design techniques that I'll use is Foley and EQs, for example, and they will be applied during my audio production phase. And then I'll be conducting playtesting, and when the game is fully polished and ready to play for feedback on immersion and the game in general. And then I'll be using three different software and one online. So Godot Engine's gonna be the one I'll use to make my game, and then FL Studio is the one I'll use to make the music and all the sounds. Blender is for any 3D assets, and then Piscal's for 2D assets. So the significance of this, the project will highlight an approach to understand how sound effects immersion in video games and what sound designers and game developers can do to better the experience that games offer. Rather than treating audio as a background element, the game project centers it as a gameplay driver and narrative tool in the form of a rhythm game, which is an understudying genre of gaming. Some future implications: this emphasis could inspire new standards for audio integration slash new innovations for sound design, in-game design, especially for indie development. This invites future aspiring developers and sound designers to think more deeply about how sound can be used to define a game's identity and gameplay structure. Second significance, by adding to the expanding body of research on how people engage with technology on a cognitive, physiological, and emotional level, this project has practical implications. It examines how audio affects attention, memory, decision making, and emotional response through the prism of game design. Sound design also has applications well beyond the realm of gaming and entertainment. Some future implications: these insights have broader real world applications, particularly in areas like therapeutic gaming, neuroeducation, and mental wellness. It's a way to show that sound in games can do more than entertain and actually help people in real ways. So some data here. The first is the SCI model, which suggests that immersion is basically a multidimensional phenomena when it comes to gaming, and it stands for sensory, challenge-based, and imaginative immersion. For sensory immersion, it's basically how the audiovisual execution of a game can easily create sensory overload in the player. We begin to essentially become entirely focused on the game world and its stimuli. For rhythm games in particular, they have audiovisual calibration settings that are provided to and set by the player to essentially optimize or adjust the timing between the audio and visual elements of the game to match the player's perception of the music and gameplay. For challenge-based immersion, it's kind of the same as the state of flow or flow theory. So it's that feeling when you're able to achieve a satisfying balance of the challenges you face in a situation and your ability to meet the demands of that challenge. Placing challenges in a game incites a need to win the player, which motivates them to balance their motor, cognitive, and emotional skills to reach a reward. Finally, for imaginative immersion, when you become absorbed with a game's story and begin to empathize or identify with game characters. So basically, you just have to create a fictional reality in your game. And then on the bottom right here, this is some data from an auditory hallucination article. And this study will focuses on the use of auditory hallucinations in the context of horror games. And auditory hallucinations are basically perceived sound that isn't actually there. This could be dialogue such as faint voice echoes or ambient music with dissonant elements. And as we can see here, there's more effect with auditory hallucinations on fear as an emotion and as in behavior, also for immersion. And then my target audience will generally be aged in their late teens to early 30s, and they consist of any game fans, indie game enjoyers, casuals, rhythm game fans, and then any aspiring amateur, indie, professional game devs, and musicians slash sound designers. So my proposed solution, my game project will serve as a case study on how creative sound design choices, when grounded in research frameworks such as the SCI model and flow theory, can shape the player experience by heightening immersion, inform better sound design practices in the indie game development field, provide inspiration for indie game devs that may employ it in their creative processes, and potentially explore the wider impact of how sound designers design sound beyond gaming and entertainment in general. So my deliverable, again, it will be a 2.5D rhythm action shooter game that will be a demo length. Also accompanying it with a GDD or game design document that will be revised over time in the semester. And then I'll also include an OST album, also known as the official soundtrack album. It will consist of all the music heard in the game, and I can distribute it using DistroKid for streaming for everyone. And then if time allows, I'll also do a trailer video that will showcase the gameplay and story that I'll edit using DaVinci Resolve. So my process here is during pre-production and summer break, I'll watch Blender tutorials since I don't really use Blender, some more Godot tutorials, and then finding music inspiration and drafting my GDD. During weeks 1 to 13 of the capstone semester, I'll be starting 3D assets, 2D assets, and then audio production, and then gameplay mechanics, level design, and audio integration. Last 2 weeks, I'll be doing polishing and bug fixing, and then I'll conduct playtesting, finalizing my GDD, and then compiling the OST for distribution. And if time allows again, I'll do a trailer edit. And thank you.